Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the broadcast. My name, as you know, is Justice Knight. Today, filling in for Lisa Haven. Can't thank you enough for allowing me to be here today. Now, Lisa and I work diligently, whenever possible, to not cross over each other on critical stories. But what we love above everything else, and unfortunately, when you do responsible journalism, that love can be very painful, and it is in the East Palestine train derailment story, because the EPA, in front of all the world, for everyone to hear, absolutely just demolished the entire story. I was taken aback when I heard, as he stood and faced the camera, exactly what he said and how it goes again to illustrate the absolute mistakes that appear to have been made, the lack of an appropriate response to help the people in that community, and now the EPA, man, they're jumping right into the thick of it. That's the story we're going to cover here today. Before we do, and as we always ask you, the onslaught is real. What's happening behind the scenes that you can't see because you can't see the analytics that we see is it is an all-out attack on conservative news. Plain and simple. Because the only way you can control everything is to have no dissenting opinion. So I need you, first step, make sure you're subscribed to Lisa. Make sure your bell is checked. You got the all checked, so at least you get notifications. Second step, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to me, I can't tell you how much that means to me. Lisa will put a link just above. Third step, you've heard us mention it, restrictedrepublic.com. There's a reason we created that platform. We have no backers. We have no sponsors. That came out of our pockets to create that platform to assure we can provide you a bastion for news that matters, audience-funded news, which means without an audience, that news doesn't exist. We hope you'll become a member of the Restricted Republic family today. Discount code FREEDOM, 14 days free, plus 2 years for $5 a month. That offer won't last long, and if we need to put a smile on your face, which we actually love doing, do me a huge favor, get over to we'reforkedup.com. That's our way of thanking all of you for everything you do and taking you to dinner with us, having a laugh, because it's so important with the doom and gloom that dominates mainstream media that you get an escape. And we want you to be there with us. Go to we'reforkedup.com today, subscribe there, and we'll send you the notifications wherever we publish the video. I'll also put a link to the most recent video that was published here on YouTube if you want to subscribe. We can't thank you enough, but now let's get back to this story. How do you cover all the details of what happened in East Palestine to every man, woman, and child in that area? You can go out and point out the gross negligence that appears to have happened. You could point out that Pete Buttigieg forced to wait in the hallway while East Palestine mayor spoke with Rudy Giuliani first. So you see, the administration is losing respect at every turn. And why do they lose that respect? You don't have to go very far. All you have to do is listen to him talk.
Rail safety is something that that has evolved a lot over the years, but there's clearly more that needs to be done because while this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases a year of a train derailing.
Okay, that's enough of that. You heard the statement clearly. While this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases of a year of train derailing. Yeah, it's not an untrue statistic. The problem is it's gotten attention. You know, there's 1,000 of these. What are you guys worried about? Well, there's some big difference here, and we're not going to let you just push that to the side. There were more toxic chemicals on train that derailed in Ohio than originally reported. We could go through the technical chemicals, but does it really make a difference? Because it is contaminating everything. And that's where the EPA comes in. And they override that heartless response to Ohio disaster, leaves America outraged. And why? Because the story has changed. Because what Pete said isn't true. It is far worse than many of the other train derailments that, unfortunately, yes, there is injury and damage to property. But the impact of this is far worse. Buttigieg added to his embarrassing reputation Thursday during his belated visit to the site of the disastrous train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Buttigieg waited 20 days before visiting the impacted area. So I am not big in government involvement. However, when my tax dollars go into infrastructure packages, of which, that's right, is not the rail an important part of our American infrastructure and transportation? Of course it is. So then shouldn't the government be maintaining the rails that they are now putting very dangerous chemicals on top of to assure a disaster like this doesn't happen? And when it does, should there be nearly a 3-week delay before you show up? Now, I'm not going to get into left and right on this issue because this is not a left or right issue when human lives and human wellness is involved. Is this why Joe Biden won't visit East Palestine? We can question that all day long, can't we? Do we expect anything different at this point? But that's just the tip of the iceberg, the tip of the story. Chemical clouds that everybody's seen by now, but something else is happening. Ohio crew conducts a controlled release of toxic chemicals. I am going to demolish that here in just a second, as we finally get word from an expert who actually speaks to the camera and tells everyone what was actually, in his opinion, done. And I promise you, he does not state it is a controlled release. I couldn't help but put the picture up. We're fine. As you look on the porch, I can't get past that image. Comical, but yet devastating, all in the same token. Forestry workers find animals dying at an alarming rate in Ohio parks following East Palestine train derailment. We've seen all of this. And then this poor man, and it's hard. You're going to want to, unfortunately, smile when you hear his voice, but he gives his own laughable explanation to what's happening. And this is where the help belongs. And his answer as to why this happened and how he can't seem to solve it. Man, there's no better way than to play it.
It's just been like this ever since the train blew up.
It's crazy. What does your voice really sound like, Wade? I know you can't tell us, but is it like that? You sound like Michael Jackson normally?
Lately, I sound like Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
Well, what are they telling you?
My doctor says I most definitely have the chemicals in me. And,
but he has to find a toxologist to get properly...
They keep telling me to come up here, but nobody has nothing.
Man, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? Broke my heart. There's nobody there to help. He can't find the right help so he can get his voice back, and that's just the beginning. Because a tragedy on adults is a horrific thing, but tragedy on children, and that's far worse. And this EPA administrator comes out and says something none of us thought we would ever hear, but we did. And this is before I play the expert for you. Listen in here.
Administrator, let me ask you real quick. Would you allow your children to touch the water? We've seen the rainbow sheen. We've seen, all these chemicals popping up from the bottom of the streams that these kids used to play in. Would you allow your kids anywhere close to these streams right now?
I would not. I'm a father of a 9-year-old. I think we have to all agree that we wish this accident didn't occur.
Somebody finally says the truth. The EPA finally says the truth. It takes one man who has some guts to stand up there. He has a child, 9 years old, and says, absolutely, I wouldn't let my children touch the water. Whoa, what was that so tough? Was that so hard to do? Accidents happen, mistakes happen, but we must, as a community, band together to fix those mistakes. Now, shouldn't we? I couldn't believe that he actually came out on camera and said that. I'm sure tomorrow he won't have his job anymore because he dared to speak the truth. Look, we haven't seen this before. Camp Lejeune, you know about that and the water contamination. We can go to Aaron Brockovich's story. We know about that. All the diseases and symptoms that occur by this leakage into groundwater, forever chemicals that we're still fighting against day after day. But we got to focus on everything else that's unimportant, don't we? Equity over safety. Drives me insane. Aaron Brockovich, you know that story. Same thing, carcinogens in tap water. But we're going to close with this. Just take it a deep breath. And these you can get so irate over. Unbelievable. An independent chemical engineer says East Palestine was not, you heard me right, a controlled burn, as evidenced by plumes of black smoke. He also says agencies deliberately tested only for generic carbon byproducts, avoiding testing for dioxins. I'm going to let him take it from here. This will not be the niftiest graphic, but I think you'll get the point quick.
We're going to be looking for a lot of chemicals, including dioxin. We're doing a lot of soil sampling and water sampling. It was a bad decision to release it and burn it. Well, there's the lie. It wasn't a controlled burn, it was an uncontrolled burn. See, I'm a chemical engineer as well as a top health and safety guy. Hydrocarbons, acid gas. They were measuring most of the time is what they call VOCs, which is just some generic. It's not a specific chemical. In the old days with a carburetor, if you had the air-fuel ratio wrong and you had black smoke, that meant you had too much fuel, not enough air. And that black is carbon, right? When there's incomplete combustion, there's evidence that part of the vinyl chloride goes to dioxin, and dioxin is one of the most deadly compounds known.
Yeah, and that's, finally, the truth comes out, huh? We just threw caution to the wind, literally. Man, everybody makes mistakes, accidents happen. Just tell the truth. No one is exempt from helping humanity. It's okay to say you don't know what you're doing, because then at least we can put up the proper levels of caution, err on the side of caution. It's a simple statement that nobody has deployed within this story. And that, man, that's heartbreaking. Now, Lisa wanted me to give a shout out to her sponsor, LisaHavenGold.com. Again, LisaHavenGold.com. That's Noble Gold Investments. You heard about me talk about them before. You want this free quarter-ounce American Gold Eagle coin? Well, it's free with every qualified gold and silver-backed IRA account. Over $50,000. A lot of saying we're at war. A lot of people saying we're in a recession. I'm not saying I'm arguing with either. But two things the government doesn't want you to know is once the cracks show, the person who is hit the worst is you. That's why you need to protect yourself and your family, because things will get worse, unfortunately. Fortunately, Noble Gold Investments is here to give you an investment to protect your future. Amazing sponsor of Lisa's. Again, that's LisaHavenGold.com. Click on the More button below. Get all the details you need. We want to thank you for being here today. We love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Joseph Knight, signing out.